Welcome to the Daily Insider right here on Vegas Insider. I am Kevin Rogers, and looking forward to today's show. We'll look back at Giants-Chiefs from last night, and also World Series game number 6. Are the Braves going to blow it again, or are they going to finally close out the Astros? They're moving back to Houston now for game 6, maybe a game 7 tomorrow. We'll see, and then baseball will be all finished. And college basketball is only a week away, too. So the circle of sports life continues. We'll talk to Holden Kushner coming up in just 1 second. But before we get to Holden, I want to tell you about BetMGM. They're the king of sports books. And if you bet $10, you win $200 for new players only, by the way. New players only. Bet $10 to win $200 if your team scores a touchdown. Bet on any NFL money line. And if your team scores a touchdown, you'll receive an additional $200 in free bets. Again, new players only, must be 21 years or older, and it's legal in the following states: Arizona, New Jersey, Indiana, Colorado, Tennessee, West Virginia, Iowa, Virginia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C. only. Full terms and conditions apply. That is BetMGM. They are the king of sports books. Now let's bring on my old friend, Holden Kushner. And when I say old friend, I've known Holden since 2003. We worked together in Kansas City at an old station, 610 Sports. And Holden now hosts the VSiN Denver CityCast. So he has moved up majorly in this world. You see that Broncos helmet right behind him. I think it's Jason Elam's signed helmet, but I'm not too sure about that.
Not true. I got a gift. I got a little, let's see. Yeah, that's an Elway helmet. And that, I got a chance to meet Montana and Jerry Rice. That's my favorite. And actually, we were in Kansas City when that happened. It's funny to say that because when they came to town, I worked with the old center with the Chiefs, whose name I won't even bring up. But yes, thank you for the time. I'm so excited, Kevin Rogers. I am the host of the Denver CityCast presented by Bet Rivers. I do bet all the Colorado teams, especially the Denver teams, my friend. We're off to a great start, too. I think I don't even know what the record is, but it's well over 500 on the Broncos. And then the problem is the Nuggets, though. I'm off to a horrible start in NBA, but we got a lot left in the NBA seasons or the NFL season. So make sure you hop on there. Denver CityCast, listen, subscribe, even if you're not in Colorado, because who doesn't like more money, right, Kev? Right, K-Raj? And the other thing I want to bring up to you is, the fact that you replaced me on this show with a friend of ours, a mutual friend, Dave Sharapan, is just hurtful. I decided to put my ego aside and come on this show once again. But boy, it was a great 1-year run we had, buddy. It was amazing, but it was time to move on. You guys must be making more money so you could afford the Dave Sharapan.
Well, we have to pay for all of Dave's hats. That's why, So we got.
That's true. He's one.
we got to afford to pay for all those hats he wears.
I love the guy. He's one of the best live bettors I know. So when Sharapan's back on here, tell him I hate him. What's going on, K-Raj? I love the collared shirt tucked into a Sean Kemp hoodie. You are a fashionista.
Look, I have my Sean Kemp hoodie, which people don't know. That's when he dunked on Alton Lister.
Yeah. Nobody that watches this remembers Alton Lister. Nobody.
He was a legend. This was like this was Warriors, Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Warriors. This was the old days, like Don Nelson's first time around with the Warriors. But before, they got good. Okay, Holden, I want to talk about NFL with you. What?
You want to talk about betting? Is that?
Yeah, why not? Well, first of all, Florida's legal now. So yes. Mazel tov to everybody in Florida. I'm in Florida. You're not. You're in Colorado. You've had betting for years. Florida's new. So we're now ready to go. I want to talk about the Monday night game with you from last night. And the Chiefs end up beating the Giants 20-17. Okay, a couple things here. Kansas City can't cover a game to save their lives. That's number one. Number two, the judge and jury right now, Joe Judge, 9-2 against the spread as a road dog. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't even know he was around for 11 games at this point. It's like mind-blowing. Yeah, and they got Vegas this week, buddy. And, they're at home is the problem. And Vegas probably going to come in there and Daniel Jones can't perform at home. But it is kind of a crazy stat, isn't it? And I was not on the side last night. I stayed as far away as possible. The Chiefs just aren't a profitable team to back. And it's very confusing to see what they're doing right now. It doesn't make much sense. unless Andy Reid just has not adjusted to this new way that they're going to be defended. They're going to throw, as many defensive backs deep as possible, make sure Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman don't hit them over the top. I think the big issue here is Kelsey. What's going on with Kelsey? He's not having these big games that he's had in the past too. So they got to fix that offense. Defensively, they're a complete debacle. They did go out and they made a trade with the Steelers to, I think, at least bolster the defense a little bit. But boy, K-Raj, you can't back the Chiefs at this point in time. And I wonder if you just start backing the other teams. This is a long trend now. Long time.
This is going back to last year. They're 0-4 against the spread at Arrowhead, which is very odd. And they have now 2 outright losses. And the other 2, they were up 12 on the Browns, and they were down in the fourth quarter to the Giants. So it's not like they're blowing anybody out in these games. And going back to last year, they had that long stretch where they didn't cover. Big numbers, granted. But now, 10.5 is big. But even against Buffalo random, where do you put Kansas City right now in the AFC?
I feel like they're a sleeping giant still, that everybody's so down on them. They're a 500 team. They're still in the mix for the playoffs. Would you want to play the Chiefs in the playoffs? No, I don't think anybody really does. And if they do, that means they've turned a lot of things around. But you know what? They're not the worst. They're not the worst over the last few years. I saw the stat where the Browns are 15-24-1 since they traded for Odell Beckham. And in that amount of time, the Bears and the Jets have been worse. It's a bigger sample, but there are some teams that have just been horrible. Browns, Chiefs, Bears, Jets, all these guys. And I'm not down. Listen, I'm down on the Chiefs, but I'm not ready to bury them yet. Are you ready to bury these guys? Somehow, some way, they're a 500 team. And no, the Raiders aren't going to pull away from them in the division. I'm not buying that. And the Chargers keep losing these freaking games they should be winning. That's frustrating too. So, K-Raj, I'm not off the Chiefs. They have looked awful, though, and we've seen really good teams struggle from time to time, but it's up to Andy Reid now to figure this thing out. And Patrick Mahomes, yes, a lot of his interceptions have been tipped. It's fascinating. I've never seen anything like this, but he's also making bad decisions. He's also fumbling the football. A lot of things need to change. I still have confidence in this team.
Now, the Holden Kushner Bowl was on Sunday. It was the Broncos beating Washington. Okay, I have a lot of things I want to uncover with you.
Please.
Number one with Washington, with the football team.
Yeah.
Now, silly on me, I took the football team because I figured Denver off of this losing streak. Teddy's not playing well. They have no offense to speak of. You have 2 blocked field goals. You have 2 interceptions. I mean, come on, Washington. I mean, you got to do better than that.
Well, this is typical Washington football. If you listen to the Denver City Cast presented by Bet Rivers, you would have known to back the Broncos at either 2.5 or 3, and it happened. And that's 2 bad football teams that are going at each other. I thought that these defenses were so bad that there was a chance they would go over. So I didn't even touch the total, but Washington has no quarterback. Again, so many things off the field. These guys just can't concentrate. They're devoid of talent. They don't have a quarterback. And then we get to the Broncos, who also don't have a quarterback. The chatter now, they got to go get Aaron Rodgers. They got to go get Russell Wilson. There's so many questions here, too, because Teddy Bridgewater is a fine backup. He's a fine backup, but is he really the guy that's going to lead you to the playoffs? No, he's a game manager. I think you need explosive plays in the NFL. You're not getting that. They had, I believe, 7 linebackers that were on IR, and now Von Miller is gone. They are susceptible to getting gashed by the run, and offensively, just not enough explosive plays, K-Raj. So going forward, just keep that in mind. And I recommended on the CityCast, I said, last week, go back the Cowboys at -7. I think Dak is coming back, and even if he's not coming back, it's still a decent bet. I think that line's up to 8.5, 9 now. I was checking it out on your site, Vegas Insider here. Yeah, I mean, it's bad on both sides of the ball. 9.5, 10 is what we're seeing this line at now. And I don't even know if that's enough. The Broncos are really, really bad. And the Cowboys, if they get Dak back, watch out.
Well, before we get to the Broncos and Cowboys, Holden, with Washington, I know it felt like smoke and mirrors last year that they went 7-9 and Dak was hurt and the division was terrible. But the defense was really good last year. And I feel like they've been shredded this year. But also looking back at last year, You missed Dak twice. A couple other teams they played didn't have their starting quarterbacks. Where this year, Washington has faced Mahomes. They faced Aaron Rodgers. They faced, even Jameis, lit him up a few weeks ago. They faced Josh Allen earlier in the year. They faced better quarterbacks. So is that what it is? That it got exposed by just playing better teams and better quarterbacks?
Yeah, I don't think they were that good last year. They were 7-9. That's not a good football team. So they lucked out. They got into the playoffs. They were terrific defensively. Then they come into this season. There was a lot of optimism around. This is what happens all the time with the Washington team, right? Always they get their fan base a little excited. They make a big trade. They make a big signing. Fitzmagic goes down. I think with Fitzmagic, they would at least be closer to 500. But really the big issue is the defense that has taken a massive step back. And there's really no explanation for it unless it's scheme because, well, then again, you do have Chase Young, who's not been as productive. I don't want to say he's been figured out because that's tough to do with a kid with that much talent. But more than anything, they have no quarterback. Heineke, short, throws high, decides to run, mistake prone, and they're not getting a pass rush. And that's putting a lot of pressure on the secondary. And that's why that Washington team is so bad. And that's why I like the Broncos this week or last week.
Well, let's look ahead now to this week. All right. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned Dak. They don't play him against Minnesota. We see how that line totally swings in the Vikings' favor, and the Vikings still lose that game. If you're the Cowboys playing this Denver team that is not good offensively, we see them being a good team all year. Why would you rush Dak back if you don't think he's 100%?
Well, because I think you're playing for home field advantage. And at what point in time, when is he going to be 100%? That's the question. Look, they said he looked good in warmups last week, right? We all saw him skipping. We're all doctors. We're all trainers. We know what's going on there. But I think it's a different mindset when you talk to people that are watching the game as opposed to the people that are playing the game. The Cowboys aren't just playing to win the division. The Cowboys are playing for home field advantage. So what do you think? I would roll him out there if he feels comfortable, if they don't think he's going to have long-term injuries again. But you play the safe game. I could see that happening. The word coming out of Cowboys camp once again, though, and this is not just Jerry Jones, because what the hell does Jerry Jones say? He'll just everybody's playing this week. Troy Aikman's coming back with Emmitt Smith. That's going to happen if Jerry Jones says it. So, yeah, I think he does play this week. I wouldn't hold him out because I've got the Cowboys -7. So that's why I wouldn't do it.
You jumped on them early. Now they're up to 10. So that line is yeah, we'll see how that one goes. Also, you have another double-digit line, Holden. Colts laying 10.5 to the Jets Thursday night. And Carson Wentz went Carson Wentz at the end of that game against Tennessee. And somehow they still got to overtime because they had another pass interference, and Carson Wentz has excelled at that. But what do you think about this Mike White? Not say he's going to take Zach Wilson's job permanently. You think this was just a one-hit wonder with him against the Bengals on Sunday?
Boy, is he throwing for 405 against the Colts? Like, there's massive tape on him now. It's a short turnaround. I get it. That was a great story. And this is narrative street here. I also wonder if the Jets are going to drink their Kool-Aid. And they're devoid of a lot of talent offensively. Defensively, they're prone to getting gashed between whether it's the run or the pass. The problem is, K-Rod, maybe we could talk this out. I don't like that 10 in the hook. Like, if I could get it at 10, I don't even back many teams at 10, but maybe it's a teaser situation, and I'd say that. But again, we're only passing one key number, so maybe it's not a teaser situation either. This is a stay away spot for me, buddy. Sorry that I can't take the hard line here and say definitively that the Colts are going to win. Obviously, on the money line, it looks good, but 10.5 for me on a short week is a little too much.
I'm with you, and you know what? We saw last week that now we have 6 straight unders on Thursday. Did you have the total in the Packers-Cardinals last Thursday?
The total in the Packers-Cardinals. I mean, last Thursday, that was so long ago. I know it was the Packers and the Cardinals. I don't think I had the total in that game. No, I didn't have the total in that game whatsoever. I had a lot of props, player props, because again, Thursday nights, I kind of just stay away from them. Everybody say, oh, Cardinals are going to blow them out. But remember, the Packers play very well without Devontae Adams, don't they? So I think they're 7-0 without him. So going back to that one, that was more of a player prop game. And I think this one's going to be a player prop game too, as I continue to look into this. Nothing really stands out to this point. Maybe the Michael Carter receiving yards. But Thursday nights in the past years were not very, very good to me. And I usually stay away from sides and totals unless it's just a layup here. And I don't see that right now in this game between the Jets and the Colts. What's the total? 44.5?
46.5.
46.5 now? Yeah, it went up 2.5 points. So it's up to 46.5. I suppose we could look at the Colts total, the Colts team total. I could see them putting up some points, but ultimately not right now as we sit here taping this on a Tuesday. I'll be digging into props more than anything else.
Let's look at this game too, Holden. Chargers-Eagles in Philadelphia. And well, hold on a second. First of all, a lot of people were on the Lions, it felt like last week, for no good reason. The Lions, I'm going to give you a little tip here. Lions, when they play close, the next week they get blown out. When they get blown out, the next week they're close. And on Sunday against Philadelphia, they're coming off a close loss to the Rams. They get blown out by the Eagles. So next game, they'll probably hang around. Eagles now back at home. They face the Chargers. Herbert's lost a few in a row. Do you think the wheels are kind of coming off at the Chargers? What do you think about this game?
They're a really good football team. They're a really good football team that's that's Heckle Jekyll. You know, remember that Cowboys game early in the season? We didn't really know the Cowboys were that good, and that was just a debacle. I backed the Chargers big time in that one. That line didn't make sense to me. I'm getting sucked back in, buddy. I'm getting sucked back in. I can't believe this line was less than a field goal. I know it's on the road for the Chargers, but the Eagles are a really bad team. I don't know if you agree with me or not. I think the Eagles are horrible. They get just atrocious quarterback play. Their offense, they don't run the football. I don't understand what Sirianni's doing there. A lot of times you're putting the ball in the hands of Jalen Hurts to throw the football a whole bunch when he's extraordinarily inaccurate. And they had a talented back in Miles Sanders before he went on IR. And now they decide to roll Boston Scott and Kenny Gainwell out there and Jordan Howard. Defensively, I see Eckler just gashing them up and down. I could see Keenan Allen. Mike Williams needs to get back in this game. This is a get-right spot for me, for the Chargers. I think they get going. They got blown out by the Ravens. They lost that game to the Patriots, but Sirianni is no Belichick. And the Eagles are a bad football team. I don't care that they're going on the road. What is this, a 405 game too? You know, they're moving it back a little bit, I believe. So, I really love the Chargers right now. And I can't believe that this thing went down from 2.5 to 1.5. I don't get it. I don't get it. How about you?
Well, first of all, when you look at this matchup with Philadelphia, I feel like at times that this Eagles team has hung. They were in that San Francisco game early. Remember that Jalen Hurts had that 94-yard pass down the sidelines? They didn't score a touchdown on that one.
Quez Watkins. Yeah.
So he had that. The Chiefs game, they kind of hung around. That's because the Chiefs defense was terrible. I did not like them against the Raiders. I felt very alone in that one. I just thought the Raiders, after the whole Gruden thing happened, I took them against the Broncos, and then I took them again against the Eagles thinking, get this guy out. They're not happy with him, and they played well. I'm not saying they're going to win the division now, but the Eagles I took a lot of times this year, and I took them against the Panthers, and that one kind of worked out. They didn't play that well. I feel like the whole offense just hurts, and that's all they do with them.
So dumb. It just doesn't make sense. If you play fantasy football, you love Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is wonderful in fantasy football. In real life, he's one of the more inaccurate quarterbacks. He should be able to run. And this is the one issue I got with the Chargers, that they get gashed by the run. But is Nick Sirianni smart enough to look at this and say, okay, we'll stop chucking the ball 40 times a game because Jalen Hurts is our quarterback and he can't hit our receivers? If they decide to run the ball, maybe they'll have some success. And I'm not talking about running it with Hurts. I'm talking about running it with the guys that they got right now, the aforementioned guys that they got right now. So that's the path to the Eagles winning. There's just too much firepower. And really, the Chargers have to win this game at this point. They can't lose another game. They've lost 2 in a row. This slide has to end. They got to clean up on teams like the Eagles, the Broncos, who they still have on their schedule, the Giants. They're lucky enough to play the NFC East. This is more a play against the Eagles than it is for the Chargers.
Now, I do have one more for you, Holden, I want to get to, and it's the Falcons and the Saints. What do you think the Saints team is going to be like without Jameis Winston and now Trevor Siemian, who you saw in Denver, now running the show for New Orleans?
I mean, I was shocked that he had the success that he had last week, But how does he do that again? Well, I guess it's because he's playing against Atlanta. Kevin, I'm going to be totally honest with you that I have not dug into this game yet. We're sitting here on Tuesday. I've gotten to about 5 games. This is one that I'm just looking at the line. So you're just asking me about Simeon. He's not a good quarterback is the problem. He's not a good quarterback. But New Orleans has now gone, I think, to the running game. They picked up Ingram again. Alvin Kamara is still back there. I think they try to run the football a lot against Atlanta, a lot, because they don't want to have Simeon throwing the ball a whole bunch. The Atlanta defense does nothing for me. Boy, just looking at this line, though, 6. Can you trust the Saints -6 with Trevor Simeon as the quarterback? I suppose, but you're banking on New Orleans defense to keep it close or to make it a big game for the Saints.
Well, I just think that with New Orleans holding that, number one, Atlanta, I thought was in a tough spot last week against Carolina, and the Panthers ended up beating them. Atlanta didn't do anything. Of course, they had their typical letdown. New Orleans off the Seattle win Monday night, come back home, beat Tampa Bay, the Winston stuff. Now you're laying 6 to Atlanta, who didn't look sharp against New Orleans. I just don't know how you could justify laying the 6. I understand if maybe you're hesitant on Atlanta, but I don't know how you can justify laying the 6 with the Saints in this situation.
Yeah, like I said, it's going to be tough for them to score consistently with Trevor Simeon under center. I think if you're going to back the Saints this week, you're going to back them because you think their defense at home is going to shut down this Atlanta offense, which has been possible. I mean, Matt Ryan looked lost last week. He's had 3 or 4 games where he's looked terrific, but if New Orleans could take Kyle Pitts out of the game again, I think there's going to be some issues. And the loss of Calvin Ridley, kind of devastating to this team. Kind of devastating. Even though he wasn't putting up monster numbers, at least he was drawing a lot of attention.
So let's transition now to the other Atlanta team, the Braves.
Mm-hmm.
Braves Astros tonight. Before we talk about this matchup, what have you thought about this World Series so far? Because I talked about this with Sherapan yesterday, that he used the term disjointed. That's what it feels like with all these pitching changes that, it's not like the old days where you say, okay, we have this great pitching matchup. 2 guys are going to go 6-7 innings. You guys going an inning and a third of an inning, 2 innings. And then you keep going to the bullpen. That game took forever on Sunday night. It doesn't feel as enjoyable to watch.
You don't think it's as enjoyable to watch, huh?
No, I think it's just very
what
choppy
happened to
watching
you?
these games.
What happened to you? Are you a batting average guy? You're probably a batting average RBI guy still, huh? No, to be honest with you, I think you're right. Right. It is. It's been a little disjointed. Now, the Braves have been forced into the situation where they've had to go with these bullpen games. They didn't want to, but they've had injuries to the rotation. So obviously that's big. BetMGM, as you just said, they've got the total at 9, as I see there. I think if you could shop around and find an 8.5, that to me is the way to go. There's some problems on the front here with Luis Garcia because he hasn't started on short rest. This is a 3-day rest situation, and it's his first start in the playoffs where it's not on extra rest. So that's a problem. Fried, he looks a little bit tired, and I think we can go back to the NLCS against the Dodgers where he gave up runs early. And I think we look back, 5 runs in 5 innings here earlier. So the pitching is going to be interesting tonight. And I wonder at what point in time are the Astros bats going to click against the bullpen that they've seen a lot? That's my big question. I don't know if it's a square bet, K-Raj, because I know a lot of people in the industry are on it, but I see tonight as an over game. Over 8.5, 9, if you feel comfortable with that, that's fine. But I see a lot of runs being put up. I think both these starting pitchers are kind of gassed, to be honest with you. And they're going to run out a kid on short rest with the Astros that is not used to this. Good luck. I think you're going to hate this game because you're going to see like 47 arms tonight. And thank God they changed this rule to the 3 batter minimum. I'm serious, K-Rod. People complaining about that. Could you imagine if it was we'd go boom, boom, boom? It would be horrible to watch. Yeah, it's been a rough watch, but it's game 6 of the World Series, K-Rod. Loosen up. Please. There you go.
I got NBA. I got NHL. I got other things. Yeah. Tonight's matching. Any opinions on
No. No Maction for me. I learned my lesson. I don't know what the hell's going on in Maction.
Just take the over. Every game is going to be high scoring.
Just take the over. I was doing that with Ole Miss, and it worked out like the first month or so. And then that kind of went away. So tonight your play is just go over in all the Maction games?
Yeah, just be done.
Are you kidding me or are you serious?
I really haven't dug in as much into these games. Let's just say that you know what? Honestly, you don't even have that high totals. You got 54, 59, and a 54. They're not even that high.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you post your plays, K-Raj, and I will tell you. And then when you come on my show, I will make fun of you if they don't go over. But if they do go over, you will get no credit.
That's the way it always works. It's like a head coach in the NBA. If you win, you had good players. If you lose, you're the problem.
Correct. You are the problem.
All right, Holden Kushner, VSiN Denver City Cast. Where can we find you?
At Holden Radio on Twitter, as the beautiful sign in front of me says. Listen and subscribe to the podcast so I can feed my children. I mean, that's what I have to say here. It's the VSiN Denver City Cast presented by BetRivers. I want to thank you so much for having me on today. You told me it was 15 minutes, and now it's lunchtime. So great job out of UK Raj. When you come on the City Cast, I will tell you it's going to be a 10-minute hit, and an hour later you'll still be on.
That's fine. I don't mind those things.
Is it?
I don't mind. I'll just charge you by the minute.
Okay.
Holden Kushner. Find him on Twitter at Holden Radio. Denver City Cast on VSiN. Thank you so much, Holden.
Maction.
Play that Maction, man. Need that football.
Yeah, am I supposed to say goodbye? I want my last word to be Maction. Maction.
Maction. There's Holden Kushner. Always enjoy talking to him. I go way back with him. We worked in radio in Kansas City, and now he is big on the DFS and handicapping scene. I want to tell you about DraftKings, and this Saturday, UFC 268 at Madison Square Garden. It is Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington. Their second match. Usman won the first time. We'll see if Usman can win again this time. And at DraftKings, bet $5 and win $200 in free bets if you are a new customer only. Make your first deposit. Bet on any main UFC 268 event and get $200 in free bets if your bet wins. Again, that is at DraftKings, and check it out now. And also, of course, need to be 21 years or older, new users only, full terms and conditions apply. And you see the states there. It's legal: Arizona, Colorado, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, Wyoming, West Virginia. So it's all right there, and it's all courtesy of DraftKings. All right, the Maction stuff. I know this is, we need football every single day of the week, don't we? Right, Ball State and Akron. When you talk about teams that have competitive football. And you know what's funny about that? The likes of Akron, Bowling Green, they've been more competitive this year after they've struggled over the past few seasons. So this game tonight, Ball State laying 20.5 against Akron. And understandably, you know, these teams aren't going to the college football playoff. But Ball State at 4-4, they come in. They lost to Miami of Ohio their last time out. And for Akron, yes, I know they only have 2 wins. One was against Bryant, an FCS school out of Rhode Island, and the other was against Bowling Green, who, again, is one of the bottom feeders in the FBS. But Akron has covered 2 of the last 3. They were blown out by Buffalo their last time out, so you want to lay the 20.5 with Ball State. Be my guest. These teams actually haven't met in the last few years, so they're renewing their rivalry coming up this evening out in Akron. Eastern Michigan and Toledo. Holy Toledo. And right now the Rockets laying 8.5 against Eastern Michigan, who's been a really good road underdog over the years. Eastern Michigan won at Bowling Green their last time out, 55-24. And so far as a road dog this year for Eastern Michigan, they lost to Wisconsin, lost to Northern Illinois. So that number's kind of gone a little bit backwards. For Toledo, they snapped a 2-game skid. They had 2 close losses in Northern Illinois and Central Michigan, both as a favorite. They were flipped to a dog last time out against Western Michigan, and they beat them 34-15. So now Toledo laying 8.5 at home. And Toledo, so far at home this year, 0-2 against the spread in games against FBS opponents, lost outright to Colorado State and lost outright to Northern Illinois. So good luck with that if you want to lay the points with Toledo. Miami of Ohio and Ohio. That's right. These two old birds get together. It's birds and the Bobcats. Actually, the Red Hawks, I should say. So Miami of Ohio, 4-4 in the season. Ohio, 1-7. Frank Solich retired, and the Bobcats are totally they've gone backwards. Their only win came against Akron. And Ohio, the one thing I'll give them, though, they've lost 3 straight, but they lost by 3, by 1, by 7 in the stretch. So they've hung in a lot of these games after they were blown out in their first 4. And Miami of Ohio, they've won 2 straight. They're coming off a win at Ball State, also beat up Akron, lost by 1 to Eastern Michigan. So Miami of Ohio hasn't been that bad. Hung with Minnesota in a road loss. They're blown out by Cincinnati, but that's really no shame there because Cincinnati could be in the Final Four when it's all said and done. We'll see how that goes. But Miami of Ohio, though, they are laying 8 here in this spot against Ohio, and these teams did not meet last year. Remember, the MAC was a little bit odd. They didn't have a lot of games necessarily due to the COVID and the shortened season. So last time they played was 2019. Miami of Ohio won by 3 in that one. All right, the NBA tonight, not that many games to go over, but Bucks and the Pistons, they meet in Detroit. And Milwaukee's kind of going with a one-man band here because Giannis is playing. No Chris Middleton, no Drew Holiday, no Brook Lopez. And the Bucks are 3-4. A little bit of a struggle so far. The Pistons come in at 1-5. They do have their top pick, Cade Cunningham, back in the lineup. He played a few nights ago in the win over Orlando, their only win. And the Bucks right now laying 4 at Detroit. The Heat and the Mavericks in Dallas, and the Heat have been on fire. They're 5-1, coming off a win at Memphis. The Mavericks just beat the Kings a few days ago. And Dallas at 4-2. Porzingis still banged up for them. But the Mavericks, we'll see. Last year they beat the Heat as a home dog. We'll see if they do it again this time. Kings and Jazz in Utah. This is very interesting because Utah has totally owned Sacramento the last few seasons. They won at Sacramento earlier this season. The Kings are 3-3. They're 3-1 on the road. Final game of their road trip. Jazz in an interesting spot now. 5-1 on the season. Just won at Milwaukee. Coming off a 3-game road trip. Home for the Kings. Then back on the road for 3 more. So that system, whatever you want to call it, of fading a team off of the road trip and then going back on the road, I feel like that works out better later in the season. It's still early. So I do like Utah here. It feels like Sacramento's getting some public love, but I do like the Jazz in this game. And again, revenge spot for the Kings, but end of the road trip, we'll see how they fare. Pelicans and Suns in Phoenix, New Orleans. It's been a bit of a shaky start for them. No Zion. They're 1-6. The Suns at 2-3. And Phoenix really hasn't been great either. They had to come back to beat the Cavs a few nights ago. Rockets, Lakers, they finish off their little 2-game series, whatever you want to call it. And the Lakers were up big on the Rockets the other night, didn't cover. They were up huge in that game. And Houston came back, got the cover and win, obviously. Rockets are 1-5. Lakers now above 500. They're at 4-3. And NHL, you got a bunch of games. Still see if Arizona can win their first game. They're 0-8-0. And they're at Philadelphia tonight taking on the Flyers, who are laying 230. Vegas, a huge dog at Toronto. Canadians back at home after their California trip. They get the Red Wings tonight. Dallas, that line is dropping massively against Winnipeg. The Jets opened up laying 120, 125. It's now at 115. And Dallas off a couple of home losses. Ottawa's at Minnesota, have another $2 favorite there with the Wild. This one's surprising. Devils favorite at Anaheim. So the Ducks, they've had a lot of close losses, but they are a dog there to New Jersey, who is coming off a shootout loss to Columbus a few nights ago. And the Rangers continue their road trip facing the Canucks, Calgary, and Nashville. The Flames have been on fire. They've won 6 straight. And Buffalo faces San Jose. That's actually a decent matchup out west. I know the Sabres, not a lot of positivity going to the season with them, but at least they are 5-2-0 so far on the campaign. All right, before we get out of here, of course, we have World Series Game 6 tonight between the Braves and Astros. Astros are favored Luis Garcia and Max Fried on the mound. BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Bet $10 to win $200 if your team scores a touchdown. It's for new players only. Bet on any NFL money line, and if your team scores a touchdown, you'll receive an additional $200 in free bets. Again, new players only, must be 21 years or older and eligible in Arizona, New Jersey, Indiana, Colorado, Tennessee, West Virginia, Iowa, Virginia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. only. Full terms and conditions apply. That's BetMGM. They are the king of sportsbooks. My thanks to Holden Kushner for hopping on today. And you can check out his Denver City cast through VSiN. And he does a good job with that. And all the Denver sports teams, talking about the Broncos and Nuggets and Avalanche and the Rockies. So check that out. I am Kevin Rogers. We'll be back with you again on Wednesday at noon. Thanks a lot for watching today's edition of the Daily Insider. And we'll be back with you coming up tomorrow at noon. And as always, best of luck with your bets.